We have some visual renderings that will show that, again, we're taking at a time of the year over the summer that are favorable from hiding the station perspective, and I don't want to misguide anybody. This is a work in progress. We have winter views to work on as well so that we can show a defoliated condition of the site. But the landscape plan and what trees we're adding is meant to be as much of a natural buffer for the facility so that it's less of an intrusion to certainly the community and the neighbors. Mike, maybe we can flip to this. And again, I apologize. There are some extra copies that we can try to, filter around for folks if we get into more detailed questions as we go along. But the visual renderings are a work in progress. We tried to take views from the Echo Lake Road area, which is view number 1, which is the view you see there. This is a process where we actually go to site. Balloons are actually flown up in the air to the exact height of the structure, and then the station is superimposed so that you can actually get a view of what the site is like. Again, this is a summer view, which is heavily treed, and that would not look exactly the same in the winter, and we acknowledge that. I don't want to misinterpret the intention, but what we're looking at from view 1 is from Echo Lake. There is a lot of natural cover. There is, folks that can see, a shot of some of the A-train facilities that are, again, in that 65-foot area. The preponderance of the facility that's below 25 feet, even with the seasonal cover, would be very difficult to see from Echo Lake. The next shot is from Owens Road, which is the shot that's closest to the driveway entrance. We have a shot at the end that actually defoliates this, but in this time of year it would be difficult to see the substation, not only because of the existing trees that are here, but because of the supplemental landscaping that we provided. But again, in other parts of the year it'll open up a little bit more. When we look at shot number 3, this is from Cheechunk. Cheechunk, again, this time of year, again, this is an exact photo of what we see now with the facilities in the back. And you have to look a little hard to look through, but we'll have a shot that's a little more visible of our landscaping. Shot number 4 is from Hartley Road. This is the back side of the facility. This is really what you're looking through is through the wetlands, and you can see the overhead conductors. This is really looking from our transition right away into the back of the facility. And then as we wrap up, this would be a shot of the driveway. Again, an attempt to turn the driveway in so that no one's staring down into the facility and seeing more fence than we should. Existing trees, and then most of this is our supplemental landscaping that's really shown at the time of installation. These trees would grow up a bit and again mask really the lower part of the facility. Again, we acknowledge that with transmission facilities, in order to provide for safety, 69 kV, 138 kV facilities have to be at certain clearances. So there's no getting around that from a code perspective that these facilities are going to be above 50 feet. And when the conductors come into the station, that's why you'll see facilities like that bring down the electrical conductors to the lower points. Mike, you want to flip that? The last shot is that Cheechunk shot that we talked about, that again, in a normal situation, in the winter, exposes more of the station. This was a work in progress that we really received in the last week. We're actually undercutting ourselves a bit we're missing a lot of the landscaping that we show on the plan that we reviewed. But this would be a little more dense in the foreground, but it gives you a little bit of an image of the fact that seasonally, some of the higher parts of the station would be shown. But what we're trying to work on through berming and through landscaping is really to protect the Cheechunk Road view as best we can. In summary, the facility, again, is an infrastructure need for the town. We have facilities that are remote from here that lack capacity and lack the backup capability during contingencies and when we lose other stations. This is a facility that generates minimum traffic. Our technicians would come out once a month to do their routine inspection, but as a rule, the facility is really, it's low noise. There's really, our noise study shows, as it always shows, that the equipment we put in the substation is extremely low noise and is below the ambient of the community. From a lighting perspective, the stations are not normally lit. We have task lighting for safety for our folks to get in when they go in after hours, but in general, it's not a lit station. We think that, between the conservation easement we talked about, between the infrastructure improvement, there is a tax benefit for the town in excess of $200,000 per year. So those are the things that we think are important for a growing community in Goshen and what, as a company, Orange and Rockland is trying to bring in this project. Alan, did you have anything to add?
No, I just stole my thunder.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Well, what we'll do is we'll open it up then for the public to have their comments and questions. And put that microphone over with that particular, the podium. So if someone would like to speak on this, if you would just raise your hand, I'll recognize you. You go to the podium, say your name and where you live, and then your comments. Yes. Yes.
Can I speak from here? I have a pretty good voice.
Please bring the mic. That's the only way we record the minutes.
Okay.
No, stay right there. We'll bring the mic over to you.
Stay there.
Are most of you here tonight for the Timber Trail?
No, I just have one question
Okay.
to ask him.
Yep.
And that is, did you initially state that this was to service Sugarloaf and Middletown?
No, I'm sorry. The transmission lines that are here, that's running from start in Sugarloaf, right on Sugarloaf Mountain Road, and run up to Goshen Avenue. That's the transmission facility, but the actual substation is a local facility that feeds the homes in the Goshen area.
Thank you.
Just in case you...
Are there any other questions or comments from the public? Yes.
My name is Dan Ronga. I live on 214 Cheechunk Road. I have a question for you. You talked about the three substations, Dolson Ave, the one by the car dealership on 211, and also by the Galleria, the mall.
Yeah.
Those are all in three commercially zoned areas, aren't they?
I'd have to verify those, but there's probably at least a couple of those are.
Because that picture right there is straight out of my driveway. I don't want to wake up every morning looking and hearing a substation. That's just... you have it right in the letter you sent. It's a rural district. We want to keep it rural. That's the reason why we moved here. I'm sure there's plenty of other spots you could put this substation, or you could talk to Orange County and possibly buy property someplace else.
I printed out like a book on substations on the internet.
Cancer clusters,
Scary
ozone.
situation.
I mean,
And I'm only in my 30s.
yeah.
We moved in Goshen 3 years ago from Bergen County, New Jersey, right from public service on the turnpike. That is what we saw in our backyard. So now, after 3 years of thinking we're going to get a better life, and we chose Goshen to do that in, and now this, it makes me ill, actually. It really does.
And I also want to ask you too, we talked to our real estate agent who sold us the house on Tuesday, and he also said that this will decrease our property value astronomically. So my question to you is, if you build this, are you going to pay the market value of our house now? So when we move, because we're not going to be able to sell the house, because the stigma is going to be on the house that, oh, your house is being sold by a substation. No one's going to want to move a family with children into an area that has a substation. Maybe you should just call this area the Love Canal and start dumping toxic waste into the wall too.
Tired here.
This town has so many problems. I mean, okay, first off, we have the old landfill. Secondly, we have the sewage treatment plant. Thirdly, we have the jail. Fourthly, we have the psychiatric ward on 17M. We should not build. Yeah, we have the high voltage power lines that run near our house. We bought this house knowing about certain issues. This is a travesty. This is horrible. We were here first. We understand that you own this property. We understand that you own the right of way, but we would have never bought this house if we knew 3 years down the road there was going to be a 200-foot by 200-foot substation with towers in the air, making noise. Who knows what kind of side effects we're gonna get. Listen, we did a research. The last thing I want is cancer. We actually bought this house thinking we were gonna retire in the town of Goshen, and if this does get passed, we're gonna